Hi, my name is Liz with Big Hairy Dog. Hello, my name is Liz with Big Hairy Dog. We are going to be starting our webinar in just a few minutes here. Today we're going to be going over marketing with Retail Pro, and today we're going to be specifically looking at version 9 of Retail Pro. For those of you who signed up in advance, there is a slight change to the agenda. So originally it was just sales reports, but we are adding sales reports versus customer segments. I think that's going to be a little bit more helpful to people who are looking to really nail down some marketing strategies and being able to export something out of Retail Pro that we can then import into something like Constant Contact, MailChimp, or any other CRM platform. So I'm hoping you guys get some use out of that. Again, we'll be starting here officially in just a few minutes. I'm just waiting for a few more registrants or people who were registered, if registrants isn't a real word, to join us here. So we're probably going to officially get started in about 2 more minutes. We'll give them just a second to get in. All right, thanks everyone, and we'll get started in a bit. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started for now. If anybody else kind of joins in mid webinar, or if you are expecting other people to join in as well and they're not quite in yet, please know that we are recording this session. So it will be sent out to everybody who was registered for this webinar. And then it will also be on our previously recorded webinars on our website. All right. So for today, we're going to go ahead and go over the agenda you guys see on the screen. So we're going to go over point of sale flags and then our customers, list reports, sales reports, and some customer segments. Like I said, we're going to focus a little bit more on customer segments when it comes down to it, and you guys will kind of see why in a moment. All right. So first things first, point of sale flags, POS flags. POS flags are ways of getting additional information about your customers or about the sale, about what was going on during the sale at time of sale. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. I'm going to go ahead and open up my Retail Pro, and I am going to jump into options and system preferences. Now this is going to be under local preferences, point of sale, and general. So it's a little far down if you guys have problems remembering that. Of course, the recording will be here for you, but at the end of the day, that is an excellent tech chat question. Please don't forget that we also have the tech chat at bighairydog.com, and you'd be able to go ahead and type in a quick message, grab something that you need, and by the time you come back, tech is usually able to go ahead and respond to that, especially when it's something like this, and they'll give you the exact path. All right. So you have 3 point of sale flags available. And unfortunately, we are limited to those 3. One of the few places that I wouldn't be able to go ahead and arrow down and build a brand new field for myself. To use the point of sale flags, we would essentially just click into the menu name, and then we can rename the point of sale flag. All right, we have someone joining us. And so we are still at the beginning of our webinar here. Just as a reminder, bring this up. We are going through our point of sale flag. So we just jumped into our system preferences. We will also be sending out the recording to everybody who was registered. We are in our local preferences, point of sale, and point of sale flags. All right, probably the most infamous point of sale flags people know about is the "How did you hear about us?" question. Now, unfortunately, the point of sale flag does have a character limitation for the actual flag name. So I usually abbreviate it, and maybe someone else can come up with something a little bit more creative. But I'm going to go ahead and just put in HDYH. So how did you hear? All right. And we could choose whether or not it's required. Please be careful with requiring them because, well, ultimately, just make sure your sales staff is aware. If it is required, it does not tell you until you try to tender the transaction. And then, it'll take you back and you have to enter in that point of sale flag. If you are going to require it, please also make sure that your layouts have been updated prior to requiring, or else your sales staff are going to get stuck in a loop of it's required, but it's not on the screen, so I cannot add it. All right. Like I said, that's the "How did you hear about us?" Now, usually with the "How did you hear about us?" we have a few options predefined because we can go ahead and put in all of our marketing here. So, for example, if I have a Facebook ad out, I can go ahead and just type in FB and, of course, arrow down in order to go ahead and open up that secondary option line. And let's go ahead and say I also have Instagram. Maybe I have a billboard out. And maybe I even have a radio ad. I can spell radio. Or actually, let's go ahead and say TV. That's probably a little bit more um, common. Well, actually, I don't know if that's true. So we're just going to go ahead and set up these four options for right now. So again, Facebook, Instagram, billboard. I could always just say social media, but sometimes people like to go ahead and break it out a little bit further. And of course, when we're reporting on this, we're going to be able to see what are people saying most often. And if nobody's mentioned my Facebook ad, maybe it's time to move away from there. But everyone seems to be talking about my Instagram ad. There we go. I can start funneling a little bit more money there, maybe. All right. Now let's go ahead and set up a secondary flag. So you see when I click on my POS flag 2, of course, my options disappear because they are connected to my POS flag 1, now renamed "How did you hear about us?" All right. Now, before I actually click away, so under my default menu option, we can go ahead and set defaults per point of sale flag. So for some things, if you wanted to go ahead and ask maybe about the weather, for example, some people who work in like events or anything like that, sometimes weather really plays a huge role into what sells and how it's selling. So they need to go ahead and see that. For that, usually the weather doesn't change per customer. So that would be a great time to go ahead and default an option. Now, for our secondary point of sale flag, I'm going to go ahead and use something like age, right? Now, for this particular one, I might not actually want my sales staff to ask. Take an educated guess. It will not be required. And then I'm going to have some generic options here. And then, all right. And we can even say something as simple as that. Was it a teenager? Is it an adult? If I work in some kind of gift shop, maybe I might want to add children in there. And I can really see who's buying what. All right. And at the end of the day, those are the only two that I can think of right now. You do not have to use all three of them, though all three of them do show up on the point of sale layouts. Let's talk about that a little bit, or let's go see it. So I'm going to go ahead and update what I have so far, and we're all set. Now I'm going to go to sales and receipts. And let's go into forum view. I almost hit new. Remember, we cannot go ahead and edit a screen design of a document in progress. All right. And so, excuse my screen here. It's not the best, but it is a training environment here. And you can see my point of sale flags are right here in a little group, and I have all three. Interface, page designer. So for my page designer, if you guys do not already have that on the screen, so I'm going to go ahead and pretend that we don't. I'm going to highlight and delete it. There we go. So my point of sale flags, and I apologize, I'm actually misremembering this. I can go ahead and double click that and get that away from there. So if we only need one point of sale flag, we can put just the one on there. Now I'm going to kind of start this from the beginning for those of us who might not have it there at all. So I have a group called point of sale flags. So we can always go ahead and create a brand new group when I hit that little plus over here. On this side, I got that name 9, and then I'm just going to call it flag or flags if I have multiples, of course. Now, while focused on that flag, on that group over here on the left, I can scroll down to my available fields. All right. And oh, actually, they do get renamed. So I got to go up to my H's for my how did you hear? And there we go. I think the other one was called just age. And there we go. So do be careful with that. It does get renamed. If you did want to leave it at just point of sale flag 1, 2, 3, you absolutely can. And then we can just train our staff to understand what these point of sale flags are meant to hold. Okay, so there we go. Now I have them in my center, then that means they are part of my group. I can drag that group onto the screen there. And there we go. All right, now please be aware that when you drag a brand new, freshly created group, it does have its default coloring, which might not match your current formats. I know it's a little outside the scope of our webinar here, but just as a heads up, you can go ahead and anchor on something that exists. I'm going to hold the shift key down and grab that flag as well. And as long as you're anchored on something that already exists and is already the colors you want, you can go through and just make everything match. Just open it up and hit OK. There it is. And there we go. Now it's looking a little bit closer to everything else. I'm just going to hit save and we are done. Now to use the point of sale flag, of course, we're going to go ahead and hit new. Come on. There it is. All right. Now, I do not need a customer. I did not require a customer for receipts, but I did require the point of sale flag. Let me go ahead and pop this in. 1, 2, 3. It was 1, 2, 3, 4. I lied. It was neither of those. Just jump into my choose edit. With this training data, I got to apologize in advance. I usually just have different clients' information loaded, so I'm going to go ahead and see what I got here. All right. Okay, so I got something on my screen and we are good to go. So without entering in that point of sale flag, I'm just going to go ahead and try to tender this out. All right, and it's going to yell at me. And now I have to go all the way back. So just be careful of that. Well, if you do decide to go ahead and require them, just train your staff to understand. So I have to go ahead and add that. This is not required, but I can go ahead and enter that in. And then we can tender this out. And finally, I can go ahead and actually update. And there we go. I have it turned on to sign in between transactions. So that's why I have to go ahead and sign in here. So the building and using point of sale flags, all really, really straightforward. The hardest part is deciding what you want your point of sale flags to be, because unfortunately we are limited to just the 3. Now let's talk a quick second about reporting on these point of sale flags. So that's actually my customer marketing report. I just wanted to make sure that that was looking okay. All right, so down over here, and this is going to be within the custom directory. Within your custom directory, you're going to see all of our BHD reports. If you are not seeing this within your custom directory, please give us a call. We can help you get them all loaded, or at least the ones that you need loaded, because we do have a lot of them. All right, now scrolling down into the sales section, so BHD sales, I have point of sale flag 1, 2, and 3 options. And so point of sale flag 1, penetration rates, and then penetration by store as well for our multi-store environments. So let me go ahead and just run for point of sale flag 1 for right now. I'm going to go ahead and run it for today, and we're not going to have a whole lot to look at, but we'll have enough to take a look at the report. Oh, there we go. So I have the 1 transaction, 1 sold. There's my extended price with it. It's, like I said, not a whole lot, but this is specifically looking at my point of sale flag 1. So let me go ahead and get more data in there and we'll go ahead and rerun this guy. Actually, I'm going to show you something a little different. So I don't get this chance very often. I'm going to show you guys what this actually looks like in our crystal reports as well. So S5, point of sale flag, perfect. All right. So for those of you who might not be aware, point of sale or this is our Crystal reports. This is what we use to go ahead and edit version 9 reports, and then we drop them into our reports viewer there. So we can see that it is grouped by point of sale flag 1. And then basically I have my quantity sold, extended price, and that extended price with global discount percentage. All right, and so because we only have the one, that was easy. It's 100% of our extended price. The more you have in, the more accurate this data is going to be. Now, this is grouping it by subsidiary as well. You guys might see that a lot. Subsidiary, please remember, is your largest umbrella of organization. If you have a single store, then you have a single store within one subsidiary. If you have 2 stores, usually that is 2 stores still within one subsidiary. All right. Because our subsidiary and our stores sometimes overlap, especially for single store environments, we can go ahead and suppress these lines and shorten up our report a little bit. Now it's just going to show me my grand total, which ultimately did just match my subsidiary. So if you guys ever need edits like that, or if you wanted to add additional information to this stock report, it's as easy as giving us a call and letting us know what you need. We can go ahead and help you out and add all that information. This report has actually a lot that I can add to it, but we're just making something simple and limiting it to point of sale flag 1. All right. And of course, the more options you have for point of sale, Facebook versus billboard, for example, the more we'll go ahead and be able to utilize these penetration reports. Now, as far as marketing goes, of course, again, we can go ahead and have things on there like brands or anything like that, so we can kind of see what brands people are coming in to buy. The other thing that I want to go ahead and show you, and let me make sure I'm not missing anything on my agenda here. All right, setting them up and reporting, we've gone through customers, user defined, and auxiliaries. We're going to go ahead and dive into that. So first things first, the user-defined field and auxiliary fields, UDF and aux fields. We're going to go into options and system preferences. Hopefully everyone is aware that user-defined fields can be found in multiple places in Retail Pro. That's going to include user-defined fields for vendors, employees, inventory, customers, and usually the ones used most often are going to be our merchandise, our inventory user-defined fields. So for customers, it's going to be under local preferences, customers, of course, and then luckily it does say UDF/aux right there in the front. Very similar to our point of sale fields, or excuse me, point of sale flags, we are able to go ahead and type over and rename these blank fields. At the end of the day, user defined and auxiliary fields from any of the groups are just blank fields within the database that you can use to better track information. This is usually for things that we do not already track. And luckily enough, Retail Pro does track quite a bit of information for my customers, but I don't have a specific place for things like favorite brand. All right, now this is something that I can go ahead and start grabbing from my customers, maybe when they sign up or just through conversations with them. And then ultimately, I'm going to show you guys how to use a customer segment in order to market to everybody whose favorite brand is X, for example. All right. And over here, again, we can go ahead and build in our values, but especially if I have a lot of different brands to offer, it might just be more beneficial to go ahead and let people type them in on the fly. All right, so we're going to go ahead and update. Always be sure to save or update before you leave the screen. We're going to go to customer management and customers. All right, so within my customer section, I'm going to go ahead and hit new. And I'm just going to build a quick new customer. All right, and there is my fave brand now. And oh, if we spell it right, that'd be even better. One of the downsides, of course, to letting people free type, we do run the risk of people accidentally misspelling items. And then we have to be sure to either account for that misspelling while we're searching and reporting, or correct it as soon as possible, of course. Remember that Retail Pro is an open relational database. So that means, luckily enough, mistakes are very easy to correct, and it does correct it in history as well. All right, so let's go ahead and save what we got. Ooh, I got a duplicate customer ID. Just pick one up. If you guys are seeing a message like that, of course, give us a call. Usually it means something happened to your customer sequence and we just have to find the last customer ID used and update it. This I can tell you it happened because I uploaded a client's data and I didn't update my sequences. All right, but we are good to go. I have Liz here whose favorite brand is Puma. So I'm going to go ahead and back out. All right. So one thing with customers, of course, just as a general reminder, you have your history and profiles by customer. So it's a lot of really great information, but it is really granular. You only have it for that one customer. And I want something a little bit more robust and I want to cast a much wider net. So I'm going to go ahead and back up here and we're going to over here, where is my customer management? And we're going to take a look at something called customer segments. All right, so what a customer segment is, especially if you got a chance to kind of look at that button, customer segment, it looks like we're kind of moving one of our customers away from the other two. That's exactly what it is. A customer segment allows us to put filter criteria against our customer database, and we'll get a group of people that match whatever criteria we're looking for. So if I'm looking for anybody whose favorite brand is Puma, I'm going to go ahead and be able to pull them and separate them, and then I can export them out of the system. And like I mentioned earlier, import them into a CRM platform or even just into an email campaign platform. For now, let's go ahead and just hit new. All right, so after we hit new, we have a date range. So this is your sales date range, an order date range, whatever you want to look at, but this is the range that we are limiting it to. All right, and actually, really orders, it is sales. So for now, I'm going to go ahead and say year to date and okay. Now under filters, I don't have anything built in. This is a special filter area, so it does not share the same filters that you have in like inventory, for example. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and just hit edit. Now, this is a brand new filter, so I have to build it out. So I'm going to right click on the filter and go into filter design. And now I get to start adding some stuff. So let's go ahead and look for that fave brand. Of course, I'm going to double click it. And we renamed one of our aux fields, just like our point of sale flags. They do get renamed within the system as well. So be sure that you are looking for your new label. All right, I might want some averages as well. So I'm going to go ahead and add in some averages. I personally like totals as well. And I'm going to show you our receipt items. All right, and let's go scrolling up a little bit. Anything that has receipt item in front of it is going to be extremely helpful for finding people who have purchased from a specific department, a specific style, anything like this. If you spent over $500 with a specific vendor, hey, you might be interested in that vendor sale that we got going on this weekend. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and scroll up to ALU. Let's add DCS code and vendor code. All right, so I got quite a few things here. Let's go ahead and go back to criteria in order to use them. So I'm going to right click anywhere and go to criteria instead. All right, now if this order isn't really working for you, please don't forget you can always reset that order here in your filter design. Okay, for me, it'll work for now. So I'm going to go ahead and hit criteria again. That is how we toggle back and forth between them. All right, so all I really want is for the fave brand to be Puma. Now, this makes it pretty easy for me. If you've used the user defined field, it will have it available in this selectable menu. If you're using something like a vendor code, that might look a little different. So you would want to go ahead and make sure that you know the vendor code that you're looking for. Be sure to be aware of this or/and. You can search for multiple vendors at a time, but that has to stay at or. We're never going to have an item that has vendor code this and this. Well, there's multi-vendors, so that gets a little into the weeds. For the most part, you're going to want or. All right. If we set that accidentally to and or leave it accidentally at and, then we're expecting to find an item that has two separate vendor codes. All right. And okay. Now, all of this is normally set to include. Now, we can also exclude items. Although it doesn't look it, once you click into that include or exclude, it gives you that drop-down menu. So I could even say I want to search for anybody whose favorite brand is Puma, but has never purchased this vendor or this vendor or this vendor and this vendor. That's a time where I might use my ands. All right, let's cancel out of that though. And let's delete. Okay. All right. So, like I said, this is going to be pretty straightforward. I know that this user doesn't have any sales because they're a brand new customer. I just made them now, but this is where I would come in and I can say also their total net sales, and that is net after returns, must be between 500 and 1,000. And maybe I'm going to go ahead and send these guys a little coupon to get them back into my store since they spent a good amount with me already. All right. But for now, we'll leave it at just the Puma and okay. Now, actually, I'm going to go ahead and enable this fave brand Puma. All right. Now, whenever you create a new filter, I do normally like to go ahead and save it under a name that is just very explicit. You will, or very direct. You will know exactly what this is. So just looking at it, well, if I would to spell it right, fave brand Puma. Just looking at this, I know that their fave brand is going to be Puma, and there's no other criteria needed for this. That is it. Okay. And there we go. Segment name is required. Segment description is not. All right. All right. And I'm going to go ahead and put in Puma year to date. Now in this, the date range doesn't really matter for the filter that I'm using because I'm essentially just looking for anybody who has fave brand. If I was looking for total sales above 1,000, that would be limiting it to only within this date range. All right. So please be aware of your date ranges. Okay. Now we're going to go ahead and just hit generate. The system's going to think about it a little bit and run through your entire customer database and find out whoever qualifies based on your filter criteria. All right. Now, unfortunately, it does not automatically open up for you. It does list it here in the background, but we have to highlight on it and show customers. Ooh, all right. So maybe I didn't save that. So let's go ahead and go back and take a look. But for now, let me go ahead and add customers. And oh, I did that kind of fast. We're going to run another one with some actual sales criteria. So over here, once we show customers, that's when we have the ability to add or remove customers. And so the adding or removing customers just allows you to be able to cherry pick. Maybe somebody did not officially qualify for this particular segment, but we will go ahead and just give it to them because we know them and they come in pretty often. I'm going to go ahead and run one more segment, and this time we're going to use some sales criteria because I actually have some sales data. All right, one more time, year to date. And instead of using that fave brand, I'm going to build a brand new filter. So we're going to edit. And I'm going to go into filter design. Now this, I'm only concerned about some sales totals. I'm looking for people who have purchased this year. All right. And if that's all I really need, there is absolutely no need to build out the filter any further than that. So I'm going to say, I want you to show me anybody who spent at least $1 and up to $10,000 or more than $10,000. Anybody who's purchased anything. Okay. Any sales. And we could even use this going the opposite. I can say, show me people who have not purchased anything or their last sale date is not within this year. And that way we can go ahead and invite them back. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and say any sales. And generate. Give it a second. And there we go. So these are all of my people that have had sales within the year. And again, if I know that there's people who don't quite qualify, but I want them to take part in, or I want them to be part of this email blast or this promotion that I'm doing, I can add customers and I can pick them from my list. To add a customer, all you got to do is click it, give it that little check mark. That is it. Once it has its mark, we hit OK, and those that you have marked will flow into your customer segment. I'm going to go ahead and pull this up a little bit. All right. Now over here, I have two separate tabs. So if you only have the one, please remember that you can always add additional tabs by right-clicking, Interface, and Page Manager. I'm going to add a quick tab. And for this tab, I only want email. So we're going to call it email. That is it. Now, when you build a new tab, though, it by default adds everything to the screen. So we have to do a little bit of cleanup. Fastest way, unfortunately, and it does feel like it takes a while, is to still go ahead and just drag the line all the way up. And there we go. All right. Now, unfortunately, when it first builds out the list, everything is not in alphabetical order. So I saw email as we passed. If it is hard to find, just hop off the field or hop off the page, excuse me, and then come back. Once you come back, it does reorganize everything below the line in alphabetical order. So I'm going to go ahead and click that email. And I'm going to get rid of that customer sid. I don't really need that. All I want is one column and all of the emails of my people here. So we're going to go ahead and apply that. And there we go. Now I have contact info, which has pretty much everything: first, last, email, address information, postal code, and phone. And then I have just my email column. Now, the nice thing about just having my email column is, again, I can go ahead and upload this if I want to do a mass email to people. And I can right-click, select all, and I can export this list. If you have Excel, we can export it to Excel. Oh, actually, I don't have Excel on this machine. Sorry about that. Let me export this to HTML. Come on. All right, well, we're waiting for this. I did see there's a little comment in our chat room. Hi, Ken, I appreciate you joining us today. If you missed the beginning part of it, I just want to remind you that we are recording these and they do get sent out to everybody who was registered. All right, so there we go. This is just a brief example of this email, and once it gets into something like Excel, I can go ahead and clear out all of those columns. This I just exported to HTML just so we could see it. Like I said, I just don't happen to have Excel on this particular training box. All right, and of course our contact email here. Now you guys can rearrange any of this, and when you export it, it does export in whatever format that we have rearranged. This is actually why I prefer this over a report, and I'm going to show you guys that next. All right. If you guys have any questions at all about customer segments, please feel free to raise your hand or put them in the comments. If you have a mic, I can unmute you and you can go ahead and talk to me directly. But at the end of the day, we just want to go ahead and make sure that you guys are comfortable in being able to run and build out these segments. And what's going to be the most helpful is if people get comfortable with their filters and using things like the filter manager and building out our filters. All right. So again, this has been customer segments. So it is essentially one group that we've built here. Now we also have something called customer bins and scoring. So customer bins and scoring is essentially the next step to the segments. Yes, the segment will show me everybody who spent any money year to date, but bins and scoring will allow me to then group those people into my top tier people who've spent over $1,000, my middle of the road who have been 500 to 1,000, and then the bread and butter of my everyday people who've spent the $1 to $499.99. All right, so let's take a quick look at that. I'm going to hit new here, and this all starts off pretty much the same. We still have to select our date ranges, and I'm still going to limit this to the year. So we're going to say year to date. And we have to set up new filters. The customer segments and customer bins and scoring do not share filters. So let's go ahead and edit. Again, we're going to keep this fairly simple. I'm going to go into filter design, and right now I'm just going to do total sales. So I'm going to type in that T, and it's going to bring me down to the T's and total sales. I could also go ahead and take a look at like my total returns, maybe get my serial returners and see what's going on there. And of course, don't forget that we also have our receipt items. So I can go ahead and look at people who have spent X amount of money and specifically for this vendor. Okay. But we're going to go ahead and, like I said, keep things simple. And this is still going to be that 1 to, well, it is essentially infinity for me. I don't think I have receipts that big just yet. And we're going to hit OK. All right, and we're going to say year to date sales. It's really all sales. Year to date, all sales. There it is. All right. Bid name, again, that is required. Description's not. So I'm going to go and keep that pretty the same. Year to date, all sales, 3 bins. Okay. So 3 bins, I am a little old school. I like that bronze, silver, gold mentality here. So we're going to keep it like that. By default, it does give you 10 bins. Be careful with that one. So I'm going to go ahead and throw in the 3. Just literally type over that number of bins. Now, the bin type, what are we going to use to separate this? You can use an equal customer count. So if I have 100 people, I'm going to have about 30 something in each one, and one of them will have a little bit of extra. It's not divisible by 3. An equal metric value or user-defined metric levels. Personally, I like the user-defined one. I'm going to go ahead and get a little bit more control on this, and I'm going to use this metric type, the next one. So what I want is total sales dollars. All right. So based on total sales dollars, I'm going to tell the system how to break apart my bins. And I'm going to do that under the bins section. So let's hit that bins. All right. So bin 1, I'm going to say anywhere from 0 to 100. And that automatically starts my base level for bin 2. So 100 to 500 is what I want my bin 2 to be. Now my bin 3 is going to be our final big guy there. And we're going to leave that as our upper limit. Okay, so now we're just going to hit OK. And again, bin descriptions not really required, but you could go ahead and remind yourself of what your limits are. So let's go ahead and say bin 1 equals 0 to 100. Bin 2 equals 100. I think I said 500, right? Let's double check. Yep. And then bin 3 is the rest. All right, now let's go ahead and generate. Awesome. So it's going to run through and generate, and it behaves just like our customer segments. We have to go ahead and highlight on our bin here, and then I can show bins. Now from here, we have another level. These are my 3 bins, and these are the number of customers in each bin. Looks like I'm getting 0 customers here, so I need to go ahead and take a look at my filter again. And we got the same thing the first time that I ran my segment for the customer, so this could be my training box here. Our steps have been accurate, but we're going to go through this one more time. Now, from here, though, we don't see our customers just yet. Because we have this next level, we do have to go ahead and hit my show customers. And I'm just going to add a few really quick so we can have some stuff to look at. The joys of a training machine here. All right, so I am just using my space bar and arrowing down, and that's a quick way of being able to go ahead and use those mark fields. And let me go ahead and add some here. Come on, I'm gonna scroll down a little bit. And okay. And of course, we could also remove customers. It looks like I don't actually have that one on my screen, so I'm going to right click my menu designer. And oh, actually. All right, looks like I stand corrected. My bins does not have the ability to remove my customers. So once they're in, they are in. Fresh and rerun. Yep, I apologize. That one is my bad on that one. Let's go ahead and add something over here really quick. So we're going to add customers reserved for my segments there. And we'll just add a few there. Perfect. All right. So, and we're going to excuse my training data for just a little bit, but this are the manually edited bins. And just like pretty much everywhere in the system, as we focus on the bin, the bottom screen does change to show you the customers within that bin. And then of course we have our page one, which has all of these neat totals. We didn't really look at them too heavily in the segments area, but this also can show you year-to-date totals, month-to-date totals. Please be sure to take a look under Interface and Page Manager what you have available. So this is, of course, above the line is what is showing, and below the line is what we can add. So let's add some month-to-date information and some averages as well. So these averages are the same averages that you can see in your customer profile / statistics. And like I said, this is going to be just more of a bird's eye view for everybody. Does not have to be by individual customer. And oh, actually, let's go ahead and do our last sale dollar, last edit date. And there it is, month to date sales and returns. Let's apply that. And there we go. And of course, hopefully you guys all know anything that has a little dimple in front of it is able, we are able to sort by that. So there we go. All right. And just the same, I'm able to select all and export this, and I have my contact info that I am able to select all and export. And then I can import this into my CRM. All right, like I said, customer segments, customer bins and scoring are ways that you can manipulate everything on the fly, and you have absolute control over the output as well. So in my opinion, a lot more helpful than the reports. Don't get me wrong, we're gonna still look at the reports. Let's go ahead and actually go down and take a look. Got a markdown. There it is. All right, BHD sales customer marketing report. Now, please remember that version 9 is a reports viewer. So we do unfortunately do not have the ability to edit the export, but I'm going to go ahead and run this. And I'm going to go ahead and run that year to date. Okay. Okay, so there we go. Some created date information year to date. I have my customer ID, all of my customer information, sold information, address information. Unfortunately, because this is written in a way that is easy to visually read or easier to visually read, the export is not, in my opinion, as clean. Like we have our customer name above our address information. And I can't really edit that here. I could export this to like Excel, but that would be a lot of cleanup again, because these data types are on top of each other versus horizontal or versus right next to each other, which is a cleaner export, of course. Now, if you guys have a marketing report like this and you're interested in just having it export a little cleaner, we can absolutely step in, we can edit the report for you and then turn it into something that we can just auto run whenever you guys are ready. As long as our filters are set, that is always going to be an option. All right. And then of course, the customer segments and bins and scoring is something that we wouldn't be able to automate. That would have to be set up and then run whenever you guys needed it. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look. Now, as far as list reports go, we kind of looked at the marketing reports, which does have some sales information. We also have other sales reports, such as our journal with item and customer detail. So that's great for not only audits, but if you're looking for a specific customer, just to get an idea of what they're purchasing, you'd be able to go ahead and see that just like their customer history. All right, and then the list reports, those I would say are a little bit less helpful in that our list reports, again, they kind of replicate what I can export out of RIL, or excuse me, out of Retail Pro as a version 9 here. Let's go down to my lists, and here is my customer lists. So I have my customer like address list sorted by postal code count, store credit, and last sale date information. This one I actually really enjoy because we can, lure those people back that already have store credit and just remind them to come spend it with us. All right. Actually, I'm not quite sure if my training data has anything with some customer or with some store credit on it. So let's take a look. All right. We have a little bit of store credit. Again, this is kind of built on top of each other, so the export would not be nearly as clean as just being able to go ahead and pop into Retail Pro here. I'm going to pop out of my customer bins and scoring, and we're going to go to management and customers. So here, of course, we have different tabs already built. So over here under my credit info, I already have it set up to show me how much store credit people have, if we accept their checks, and if it is an AR customer for our charge accounts. And then I have my charge limit and charge balance. If we don't run charge accounts, I can go ahead and go to my interface and just remove those fields. All right. And this is a lot cleaner, again, in my opinion. And I'd be able to go ahead and select all and export. All right, same thing with my customer contact information. Instead of running a customer address list sorted by postal code, I can here sort this by postal code. There it is. We got a few of them that don't have any postal code, so we'll go ahead and address those later. But other than that, I can go ahead and select all, and we are good to go. All right, let's back out of there for the time being and jump back on over. All right, now let me go ahead and just show you one of the other reports that people like to use just to make sure that people have it. And that is going to be a little bit further up. Again, my sales journal with item detail and customer. Now, with any of these journal reports, it is your most detailed type of report. That's why we're able to get the item level information as well as the receipt level information. If that is too much detail, we don't really need that. I want my receipt totals. That's pretty much it. It is a really easy fix. So please just let us know. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and run this really quick, and we're just going to run it month to date. You guys know what it looks like. And again, if you don't see it, just give us a call and we'll be able to drop it in for you. Now you'll notice I'm kind of keep on hovering over my report icon, and that is just because it does focus the attention of the computer and it helps the report run a little bit faster. All right. So here we go. I have, again, item level information. My receipt numbers for this client are way too big, so I need to open this up a little bit more. If you guys are seeing something like that, that is also a pretty quick fix for us. We just need to open up that receipt number field a little bit more. Anytime you see the little hashtags that just your queue, that it cannot display the full amount. So rather than you think it's a smaller number, it will hash it all out. All right. And of course, I can go ahead and use this to search for a specific customer. Always pay attention to your filters when you're using customer-based reports. Usually, if you scroll on down, we have access to additional information like our user-defined fields. Now, unfortunately, the user-defined fields, although they do get renamed in Retail Pro, reports viewer, since it's technically separate from Retail Pro, we will not automatically update them. So, but we can go ahead and manually update them. All right, that's a little outside the scope of our webinar. So I think this is a good time to kind of pause and see if anybody has any questions. Oop, open up the wrong one. There it is. All right, it looks like no questions so far. We have reached the end of our webinar as far as our agenda goes. I know we still got some time, so I will be hanging around. If anybody has any questions or you feel like your questions are a little bit more specific to your store, that's totally okay. We got time to answer them. If not, then I appreciate you guys joining me for today. Again, my name is Liz, and this has been Marketing with Retail Pro, specifically Retail Pro version 9. If you are missing any of these reports, again, please just give us a call. And if you have any further questions, all right, let me go ahead and actually open up a new notepad here. All right. So my email is lizm@bighairydog.com. That is M as in Mary. Let's go ahead and format font. Make that a little bigger. There it is. All right. And if you want a more detailed training on this, or you have specific things that you're trying to go over, again, we got some time today to look at them, or you can also go ahead and give us a call at 916-368-1070 and just ask for any member of service. Our service department is going to be able to go ahead and schedule appointments. And this is also our main tech support line. So if you are trying to go ahead and run our customer bins and scoring or customer segments, and it's just not quite working out for you, or you're getting any weird errors or access violations, please go ahead and give us a call and a tech will help you get it all sorted. Okay. And for now, like I said, I'll go ahead and mute myself. If anybody has any questions, feel free to ask them. We'll hang out for a few minutes. Other than that, that is the end of our webinar for today. Thank you guys so much.